And the crazy thing about Mitch McConnell right now is what they're trying to portray him as on the interwebs, meaning that they are trying to say that Mitch McConnell was always an adversary of Joe Biden. He was a thorn in Joe Biden's side. And that is some of the most funniest thing I've ever seen out there. In fact, I got some video out here of Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden getting into a little tussle. Oh wait, where? Oh, hold on. You're skipping. Where are we at? Go to the first one, Oz. Come on now. Stick with us, Oz. Oz is jumping the gun, fam. Here is Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden fighting back in the days.
I'm confused.
Let it roll. I'm sorry there. I got the wrong video there. Actually, it's the right video because I'm trying to prove a point here. Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden fighting is about as fake as professional wrestling. There are so many issues, the important issues, that is, the issues that matter most to Americans, really, whether they realize it or not. Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden were aligned like never before. Every single war, Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell were aligned. When it came to the Senate for the Iraq war and getting it through, it was Mitch McConnell working with Joe Biden to whip up votes to make sure that George Bush can have his illegal war on Iraq that set the Middle East on fire. When it came to Julian Assange, we'll see right here in this next video. We'll let Tucker talk about it since Tucker's been the hot thing. We'll let him talk about it. But when it comes to infringing on our civil liberties, when it comes to our wars, Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell were as thick as thieves. For anybody to say that they were opposite ends of the spectrum, they don't know what they're talking about. And people need to realize this. Yeah, they huffed and puffed when it came to culture war issues. And it appeared to be on opposite sides. But that was all just for show, just like Donald Trump smacking Vince McMahon across the face. All fake. Agree or disagree, fams?
Agree.
Let's show Tucker Carlson talking about maybe some whistleblowers back in the day. Let it roll, Oz.
Tonight's show and on previous shows, we've told you about the cases of two men, Julian Assange and John Carreyrou. Julian Assange is a kind of international journalist. John Carreyrou is a former CIA officer. We should be totally blunt and tell you we're not sure we share the politics of either man. But both of their cases tell you something really important about what's going on in this country, about what matters, and about what the people in charge would like to prevent you from doing. Julian Assange and John Carreyrou both went to jail for telling the truth. Neither one stole classified documents from the U.S. government. Neither one of them hacked into anything. Julian Assange told you a lot about what the U.S. government was doing abroad and told you everything about what the DNC was doing to rig its own primaries back in 2016. Remember the WikiLeaks dump? You know about that because of Julian Assange. And by the way, if you're a Bernie Sanders voter, assuming any of those watching tonight, you probably were glad to know that. Everyone else was lying to you. Julian Assange brought you information that you had a right to know. John Carreyrou, meanwhile, told the truth about what our military and our intel agencies were doing during the Iraq War. Again, you may not agree with his position, but what he said was true. And that matters above all because truth is and must be a defense. If you say something true, you shouldn't be punished because we should value truth above all. In both cases, those men went to prison. And in both cases tonight, as one of his final acts as president, Donald Trump has the opportunity to make that right, to pardon both of them. We told you that last night. We told you it before. We're hearing tonight that neither man, particularly Julian Assange, we don't know if this is true, is likely to get a pardon. Why? Well, apparently because Republicans in the Senate, and by Republicans in the Senate we mean Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the leader of Republicans in the Senate, has sent word over to the White House. If you pardon Julian Assange, we are much more likely to convict you in an impeachment trial. Now, is it legal to hold that over a president's head? We're not lawyers. We don't know. It's certainly wrong. But more than that, it tells you everything about their priorities. At a time when this country in some ways is coming apart, we're at a pivot point in American history. And if you're watching this show, you probably feel pretty threatened, and for good reason. There are people on the other channels saying they're going to hunt you down like a terrorist. At that moment, what is Mitch McConnell, your designated defender in the United States Senate, worrying about? He's worrying about protecting the uniparty in Washington, not his party and the Democratic Party in permanent Washington. They're the reason both these men have been locked up, because both these men embarrassed permanent Washington. That's their crime. And his priority in the final hours of the Trump administration is to make certain that they remain punished for doing that. It tells you everything. We don't know what's going to happen in the end. We've got a number of hours left for the president to make that decision. But we want you to know how that decision is being made, because it's deeply revealing.
Spoiler alert, fam. Donald Trump listened to his masters and did not pardon Julian Assange or John Kiriakou. And Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden are locked and loaded on the same exact page when it comes to protecting the uniparty, the donors, the military-industrial complex. They both work for the same guy. Go ahead.
I mean, everything Tucker said there in terms of Julian Assange and John Kiriakou is correct. But unfortunately, as you said, that didn't happen. And people will still to this day defend Donald Trump, saying that he had no choice, that they would have killed him, that they really grabbed all the control from him and he wasn't able to do anything because of the swamp and because of this. And I just don't buy that whatsoever, because people are still trying to defend Trump when, again, under Donald Trump, and I have a video coming out on what's next on the Assange case, when Donald Trump literally was present is when there was so much going on against Julian Assange. So it was all under the Obama presidency, under the Trump presidency, and now under the Biden presidency. And it shows you that it doesn't matter who's president, the same type of foreign policy and national surveillance state will still go after people like Julian Assange. And the reality is that nothing actually happened in terms of pardoning him, because presidents don't run the country. So just like in that same way, Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden are two cheeks of the same butt. Like, it's just that's what it is. Two wings of the same bird, whatever you want to call it. That's the reality. That's what they represent. And everything else is just theatrics to get you to continue to partake in this football game of liberals versus, conservatives. And we know this, right?
Yeah. Two wings of the same vulture is what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of funny. We have a clip over here of Joe Biden saying goodbye to his good friend Mitch. I think they're a lot closer than people really thought.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the thing that we have to push through more than anything. They really do want you to believe out there, the mainstream media, that these guys were so different. They want you to believe that the Republicans and the Democrats are just complete polar opposites, but they're so united when it comes to war. And a lot of those people, by the way, just a side note too, as well, that a lot of people, some of the Bernie people, still blame Assange for Trump getting elected. It's still ridiculous that they even bring that up. That's how ingrained the team sports is more than anything, And we'll eventually get to Marianne Williamson with her new announcement coming out the other day. It's same bullshit, man. It's just like, we don't need any of the same partisan crap bullshit, the same propaganda that we're getting fed. It'd be really nice to have a candidate to stand up there, even if he had no chance whatsoever, but to get some momentum and really just give the people what they want and speak real truth. And it really is a shame. I did a segment the other day when it came to Donald Trump. I said, is he really that different than Joe Biden? That was the whole segment. And I had on our good friend Wayne McPherson, Middle MAGA, who's no longer supporting Donald Trump because of his positions when it comes to Israel. And I can tell you this much. If Donald Trump were in charge, nothing would be different about Israel. It might even be worse. It might even be worse. The Pompeo Doctrine that was enacted during the Trump administration said that further colonizing of the West Bank, taking away property from Palestinians by Israelis was not a criminal act not a global criminal act, right? It wasn't against global criminal acts. In other words, the UN couldn't do anything about it. That was reversed the other day by the Biden administration. Now it's just all show and tell. They'll still allow it to go on, but they want to have the appearance that they're trying to be humane, whatnot, and stop this. But I mean, the analogy I used the other day, really, to tell you the truth, you see you see Joe Biden and some of the Democrats. My God, stop with this. Have a ceasefire. You know what I'm saying? Joe Biden is not for a ceasefire, but he says, oh, Netanyahu's got to behave properly and have some concern for human life. It's like saying that a man should stop beating his wife, but you continue to give him a new belt every day to whip her with. You're providing the weaponry. You're providing all the military gear. It's disgusting what's going on. That's why the Aaron Bushnell situation really, really hit home. Fam, here's a quick clip of just Joe Biden saying his piece about McConnell. I thought it only appropriate to show what Joe Biden's reaction was when he heard that the tortoise himself, Mitch McConnell, is not going to be around.
Thank you.
What did I
didn't say
barely
much. He
hear
just
what?
said, he just said, I wish him the best, and yada yada.
Okay.
That's really a shame. That kind of thing. At least somebody knows when to call it quits, fam.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're finally, the dinosaurs are leaving, right? And Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, freaking Dianne Feinstein had to die before she left. So I mean, it's ridiculous, the people that we have in Congress. And don't worry, the squad will be there to continue to follow in their horrible footsteps. So.
And fam, the last clip I brought for the section was, as we're sitting here wondering who's going to replace him, right? Because it matters for the optics, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. We understand what the Congress is going to do, what the Senate's going to do, right? Mike Johnson is now the head of the Congress, the Speaker of the House. Not much has changed. In fact, things have gotten worse in certain instances. He's so pro-Israel, forget about it. So is the whole Congress. I mean, that doesn't make a difference. Any conservative is going to be, pro-Israel. But the freedom of speech that's infringed upon continues and gets worse with Mike Johnson as the Speaker. Well, in the Senate, I know you're not crazy about Rand Paul, but Rand Paul was the only senator to sign on to that Julian Assange letter that who put it out? Thomas Massey put it out, that a bunch of Republicans, the squad themselves, it was like the one time you see them coming together. And Rand Paul, the only senator, no Bernie Sanders did not sign the letter because he's a cuck. Bernie Sanders is a cuck. But I mean, he really gives some insight to what that speaker position means, or the head of the Senate. What is the Speaker of the Senate called? It's not called the Speaker. What's the position, Graham?
What? The Speaker of the House?
What's that? Speaker of the House is the Congress, right? The House. What is the head of the Senate position called?
Oh, Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you. Senate Majority Leader, what that position details. Here is Rand Paul on Russell Brand when he's asked, what about you picking up the helm and running with it?
BBY Kennedy also, just on a side note, says that you should succeed Mitch McConnell. He posted about that today. Is that something that you would consider?
Well, all I need is 25 votes. If someone can find me 25 reasonable Republicans. No, it's difficult. It's a club. It's a very small club. And if we have about 50, you got to have about 25. The reason McConnell has been able to stay in power is that he goes to the corporate heads, the CEO heads of all the big business. He gathers money, more money than you can put in a bag. It's like $300 million he gathers, and a couple million at a time. And then this money goes to support candidates that vote for him within the caucus. And many of them are unable to raise money very well for themselves. They're not very well known in their communities, and they're deathly afraid of the voters. This is something people don't quite understand or isn't reported as much as it should be. Most of these incumbent senators are deathly afraid of their voters, including their own party. They go home to their own conventions and they're booed at their conventions. So the hardcore people who work in the in the political world, in the conventions of their state, they know these people aren't representing them. You know, so I routinely will put forward things that I know that no good person in this state supports. And then we'll try to let people know how their senator voted because they have no idea.
That's good. Bam. Your thoughts on that? You want to get the first crack at it?
Well, it just shows you how we don't have a democracy, because these people stay in power because billionaires and lobbyists and these corporate gigantic entities continue to keep them in power. You're not keeping them in power. So further, obviously our elections are another way, but we're talking about much more of themselves and use more ways of promoting if they're actually outside candidates. If they were to be a threat to the establishment, they don't stand a chance. Not decent, but also because of the big corporate takeover. It's nothing like this is normal. This is just part of the structure, which it is. It's become that. But if you don't understand American US politics, you think it's just the elections and such, and people just need to get out and vote. This basically just proves that that's irrelevant, because even if you get somebody in there, let's say by miracle, the same thing's going to happen. They're going to keep them away from these key positions. They're going to strip them of all their power, and they're going to continue promoting the people who will just bow down like sheep and just do what these corporate overlords need them to do. And that's essentially the type of government we have in a nutshell.
Yeah. And if you have selections, not elections, then you never have to worry about the consequences because your job is safe. So you can go ahead and do what the donor class tells you to do. And that's just vote in lockstep with what they have, with the orders they give. You know, it's like, why did the chicken cross the road? Doesn't matter. He was following orders. And they follow orders.
Bam, that was a terrible accent. I just wanted you to know that. You make fun of my accent, but yours was absolutely terrible. Just wanted to let you know. It was like half Russian, half New
It was
York.
Gestapo, fam. It was a German Gestapo.
I see. I didn't even get German from that. Like,
It was a joke
Yeah.
out there. You know what, fam?
that was pretty bad.